Today's topic is what happens to the blood during detox. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And we've talked a lot about detox or detoxifying. The body goes through trying to get rid of toxins, eliminating toxins. And these toxins come in a lot of different ways and they get stored in the body tissues. So if we put on lotions and perfumes and deodorants and all that, they have chemicals. If we take stuff into our body through the diet, if we get exposed to it through the breath, all these toxins come into the body through different routes, and then they get into the tissues, they get into the bloodstream, they get into the joints, so there's toxins all over the body. On top of that, we have those metabolic toxins that are coming out of the cells themselves. So what happens to all these things, and so a lot of them get stored. If the body cannot deal with them at the time, the body gets overwhelmed and it stores these toxins. And then when we get enough resources and we start doing a wellness program like this, and we start getting more oxygen because we're breathing, and we start drinking more water, and we start taking a multivitamin, and all of a sudden we've got enough resources for the body to say, hey, that sulfurzyme especially too, I've got enough basic resources. I can start pulling toxins out of storage, out of these areas of the body where I've had to just put them, and start to get rid of them. Well, what happens to the blood and lymph when those toxins start coming out? Okay, so now we have lead coming out or mercury coming out of the storage in the joints or in the tissue, and it has to run through the bloodstream in order to get processed out. And so a lot of times the blood suffers, and this is, it gets damaged or injured at a cellular level from these toxins that are traveling mobilized to get out of the body. Okay, so we want them to get out of the body. We've got to mobilize them. We've got to get them out and moving, but we also want to protect the blood in the process. So that's where you can actually end up getting sick or feeling sick, because your blood gets all weakened and broken down from these chemicals that are coming out, and so then we end up having a detox reaction. If the body mobilizes too many toxins and doesn't get rid of it, then we end up having those toxins hang around in the bloodstream and the lymph and try to go back into storage. Well, the body does not like to do that. Once it's in a get rid of toxins mode, it does not want to push it back to storage. And so a lot of times it will push it out through the skin, it'll push it out through the bowel, it'll push it out in ways that are not pleasant. So you end up with a rash, a lot of times a rash, headache, sometimes it's sinus or respiratory problems. These are toxins that are trying to come out of the body. I'm not going to go any further than that on that issue, because we've talked about that in various ways, and we'll talk more about it at another time. But I want to talk about the blood itself, and this is something that I learned to do. I learned to do some of this breathing during the chemotherapy when I was in treatment for bone cancer at age 20. And what I realized, that at least at the time, I really didn't understand anything natural, but at the time, I understood that I really wanted the chemotherapy to kill the cancer cells, but I didn't want it to kill the good cells, the healthy cells. And so this is where I developed this concept of, okay, I want to breathe to protect the healthy tissue. And in this case, we've got our bloodstream, our blood cells that we've already been breathing into and making a connection with and getting to know. And so I want to work on, during times of detox, just allowing the cells to be protected and protected and sequestered away from these toxins, and let the toxins flush down. Okay, so we want the toxins to move out, but we don't want to damage the cells and blood cells in the process. So what we're going to do is just a little bit of breathing along those lines for making that support. Now we can bring some of that into it, like build up and strengthen the blood cells by connecting to those nutrients that we've been flooding the body with nutrients, getting oxygen and water into the tissues, but we also have been doing the multivitamin, for example, and the sulfurzyme. So I'm really going to invite those to come into the tissue, really work on strengthening the blood, and we've done that before, but I'm going to do a little bit of that first, and then we talk about allowing allowing that to form a protective ring around the blood cells, while the rest of the toxins get cleaned out and flushed out. This can definitely create a movement, a detox kind of process. So you do want to be in a state, in a context for your body that you feel like you're got the basic resources to do this kind of breathing. If you've been doing this along the way here, and as you get better and better and more, again, your consciousness gets more honed, you start to experience that this is very, very real, and you can actually influence things pretty strongly. And I've had a little bit of that happening for me in this process, that I've just been getting rid of toxins that I had been stored. Now I realize you might say, well, gee, you've been doing wellness stuff for 20 years, aren't you clean by now? And my answer is no. There's no way that after all the chemo I had and everything else, I still feel like my brain is toxified. I still feel like things are sluggish compared to where I could be or feel like I should be at. So anyway, so let's do some breathing to really strengthen the bloodstream, and again, use the resources that we have, the energy, the oxygen, the water, the minerals, the vitamins and minerals that we're getting from the master formula. So I'm just going to breathe in and making a connection to the blood and making a connection to the blood cells. We've been doing this. So the red blood cells and the immune cells, the white blood cells, and then the platelets. And then just a real quick connection to the lymph. Okay, so just a real connection, right? We've already been doing that, so it should be able to, once you've done it, you make one single breath can make a connection real quick to these things. If not, you can just go back and practice some of these things. So now I've made that connection. I'm going to really connect to getting those nutrients and vitalizing, just kind of really activating the nutrients that are in the bloodstream and the minerals, essential nutrients, the amino acids, sugars, vitamins, cofactors, and really feel those there in the bloodstream. And now I'm going to have those be participating in just giving a little protective barrier, a little glow, a little shimmer, or whatever we want to call it. Think of it, a little aura around all the red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. And just imagine all these cells running around with this nice little protective glow. And they might even hum a little bit. I mean, again, I kind of let whatever imagery come up, and so the cells are happy, they're humming, whistle as you work kind of thing. So what is that, Snow White? Anyway, so little happy little cells running around, all good. And now release the dragon. Let the toxins come out. Okay, so now that the cells are all protected, let the whatever toxins are ready to come out, not trying to push anything, but whatever is ready to come out and flush out, I'm going to invite that, okay, now it's time for, your turn to go and time to get out of here. You don't belong in me. So just going to work on activating those toxins to come out. A few breaths, getting into that bloodstream, and then making that connection. Okay, so you try to in one image hold this idea of these protected glowing cells, and then with the next one, sometimes I do this on the exhale, let those toxins start to flow out. And sometimes it takes a little bit of connection, a little bit of practice, but I can now feel toxins coming out. And I'm asking only appropriate amounts, right? I'm not trying to push a detox, because I'm only, I've already established, see, this is where consciousness, you can say, well, that's all just fake and imagination or whatever. Yes, you're right. It absolutely is imagination. I am imagining that this happens. At the very least, again, I am doing some breathing and I'm thinking good thoughts about myself. And so how can that be a bad thing? At the very best, I am literally doing what I say I'm doing in terms of my conscious thoughts. So again, exhaling out, letting these toxins process out, and recognize that they process in different ways. Some toxins are going to process through the liver, some through the lymphatics and out through the lymph nodes and the spleen, some out through the bowel, and some out even through the lungs. So exhale out some of the stuff that's out in the lungs. I'm actually feeling it pretty strongly in the front of the lungs, like it's whatever has made its way out to this area here. So I'm going to breathe in to defend the lungs. So again, this can be dynamic here. I'm going to defend the lungs, have the lungs cells be glowing and strengthened. Have my spleen and lymph nodes be glowing and strengthened. And I can imagine almost a Teflon coating, so that these things could just go right on past. And we're not going to wait around. We're moving right through. And liver, all nice and glowing and protected. That feels much better. And the bowel, lining of the bowel. So now that I've got things kind of slick, where it's like, okay, it's going to move out, and we just do another breath. And let some of these toxins. Now, again, I'm another wave of these kind of goosebump kind of feeling. I know something's happening here. I don't know if you all experience any of that. You can let me know, share with me, give me a comment or two, and tell me how do you feel some of these things? Do you feel the tingle? But I feel these as my body makes a change and it goes through a thing now. I'm actually hitting a rest mode. I have a period where my body is like, okay, I'm tired, I need to rest. I've just released toxins, right? I've just let go of the stuff, and I've used resources for that, so now I need to replenish. So I'm gonna go and drink some water, do some more breathing to replenish the oxygen, and make sure I've got those nice glowing cells, so everything's nice and happy. So extend that glowing to all my body cells, and maybe even protect the bacteria in my gut that are good flora, right? So I can just take this idea of a little glowing protection that goes to all the cells around me, my whole body, even the hair on my head. Okay, so that's a nice little, just another breath in, gratitude, thanking the body for what it does, thanking the body for being alive, thanking God for me being alive. And again, always that gratitude is a good emotion and a sentiment to offer up, to share with the body, and have a positive dialogue. If you're running negative dialogues to the body, just really doesn't end up being a good pattern. So one of the things that in the love category that you want to eliminate the toxins in the love category, one of those is that negative thinking about your body, about your person, about your life, about your situation. You don't have enough this, the idea of lack. We're going to talk about that. I think tomorrow is breathing goodness into the vitality and abundance into the bloodstream, and just addressing that constant feeling of lack. And the media wants us to feel like we are lacking whatever it is that they want to sell us. Right? There's always this message of lack. It's an abusive, negative message, and we can defend ourselves against that by turning off, unplugging, not watching the media. Okay, so we'll talk more about this, but again, so right now we just did a little bit of work with supporting the blood as the body detoxes. We want to protect those blood cells. We want to protect the body from those toxins that are coming out. And so as they get mobilized and processed out, we want to just leave the body intact in that process. So it's just a nice little breath. If you feel like you're in the process of detoxing, then you can do this. Remind yourself, give yourself a couple breaths to kind of protect and support the actual blood cells. So it should be pretty good at this by now. We've already done all the breathing into each of these blood cell types and starting to get more familiar with that. So, okay, well, happy wellness. We will see you tomorrow and continue finishing out our month on blood and lymph. And I'm excited for the coming up in March. We're going to start into the liver and digestion, so getting that material ready, and it's going to be good. All right, happy wellness.